Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, everyone. How's everyone doing today? And welcome back for another episode. If not now, when? And today, my friend, oh my God, I have a special guest for all of us. And when I say special, my friend, I really mean it. Or you might say it's someone legendary. So let me introduce you my incredible guest, Dan Janjigian. What a great name. Let me tell you a little bit about Dan. First of all, he competed 9 years, my friend, 9 years internationally in bobsledding. I have no idea what that sport even is. I looked so excited last night when I Googled it. He taking the silver medal in 2005 American Cups. And then he also participated in 2002, the Salt Lake City Olympic Games. Oh my God, Olympic, that's so amazing. He then is an actor in many reality shows, TVs, movies. And guess what? His life story is featured in 2018, the Golden Global winning film, The Room. He then is also the host for the Home Shopping Network and QVC. In 2013, my friend, he was featured on the Wheel of the Fortune, the one that we all love. I'm not even finished yet, my friend. He was one of the owners for the popular fancy restaurant in Hollywood named Gainzai House and a fancy one in Austin, Texas. Well, he then is a founder and a CEO for Speed Menu, a technology company allow all the users to order the food, the drink directly from the phone to the tap. We all love that. And today, oh my God, today he is the owner for the Great Iron Financial with offices across all the nation. And he is professional, a coach, a trainer, bring all his life experience, empower others to do exactly what he did. Today, he also has a wonderful book called The Book on Selling, which you all should read it. With that, my friend, I am so excited to welcome the one and the only Dan. And thank you so much, Dan, for joining us. Welcome to the show.
I love it, Wen. Thanks for having me on. That was an amazing introduction, just as I wrote it for you. So perfect. Thank you.
Yes, we are so excited you are here with us, Dan. And oh my God, like your story is something special. So tell us that how does all that magic, how did all that journey begin?
Well, I was very fortunate. When I was brought up, I was raised in Northern California, and I was brought up by my family, but also my grandmother who lived with us, and she was amazing because I'm Armenian of descent, and so my grandmother was one of the survivors of the Armenian genocide back in the early 1900s, right, beginning of the 20th century. So, growing up with her, and she always had such a great attitude and just a great outlook on life, but she overcame a lot. She saw her family killed. She was reunited with a brother that she thought had passed away when she was in her 60s. And so but maintaining that great attitude, she lived to be almost 101.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, my 7-year-old daughter is named after her. But yeah, so it was just very, when you live with somebody like that and you realize that life could be very, very short, everything can end tomorrow. I think you just push forward and you try and accomplish what you can as quickly as possible. So I think that had a lot to do with any success I've had has been really due to that, I think.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And talk about multi-passionate entrepreneurs. You are not just one thing, you're not just two things, you're not just three things, you are 1,000 things. So tell us, are you always like that? You're just always curious? Well, how does all those masterpieces unfold?
Well, I think, there was a cool lesson I was taught when I started in business, and that was to create kind of a dreams list, right? And so a dreams list is where you kind of write down the things that you want to accomplish in life. And these aren't like, hey, I want to get all my thank you cards written. This is like, hey, I'd like to be professionally published, or I'd like to travel, backpack Europe, or I'd like to, be a professional singer, or, be president. People put down different aspirations, things that they really, really want to accomplish. And so
Mm-hmm.
I would put these lists together, and I would love marking them off. And so I think when you write those things down, it really gives you something to shoot for, right? It's easy to shoot an arrow into the woods, but it's a lot easier to hit a target if you actually have a target with a point on it that you're shooting for, a bullseye. And so I think by creating bullseyes for yourself constantly and then reevaluating that stuff, I think it gives you something to really shoot and aim for.
So that's really break it down. I love that, Dan. But logistically, when you make a list, do you make a time frame? For example, do you say, you know what? I'm going to make it to Hollywood in next 5 years. I'm going to be the world best, sellers on this time. Like, how do you compartmentalize? Because I was wondering, Dan, do you have 48 hours a day instead of 24 hours? Like, you accomplish almost multiple different careers in such a different angle and direction, and every one of it is a whole new game, right? Talking about great attitude, talking about great perspective, all that, of course, you have it, but yet you're able to compartmentalize everything and really let it unfold. The whole list, you write down, it all come true. It's almost like I'm reading something that it's crazy. So tell us, how did that actually happen for you?
So there's a great exercise. When I do my coaching, I like to put some of my coaching clients through it. And it's called the Warren Buffett exercise. Have you heard of the Warren Buffett exercise?
I heard of him, so tell me more.
So in the Warren Buffett exercise, what you do is you write down the 25 things that you'd really like to accomplish, right? And they can be short-term, long-term, medium-term, whatever you want. But what are the 25 things that you most want to accomplish in life? And then you take the next step in that process is you figure out of those 25, what are the 5 in that list that are the most important that you want to accomplish? And I usually tell people, think about the 5 that you want to accomplish the soonest, that you really that are important to you. So you've got to kind of balance importance and time at that point, right? And then the third part is the hardest part of the exercise. Once you determine those 5, you have to look at the other 20 and make a mental determination that you are not going to do anything to pursue those other 20 until those 5 are accomplished.
Oh, I love that.
So, that way you start to, again, it goes back to focus, right? Instead of thinking about all these things you'd like to do and getting overwhelmed, you've got 5 things that you have to do, because all these other things that you're really looking forward to, you're not allowed to do until you get these first 5 done. And it's just a really, really good way to get people to focus in on what's important and do it today.
I love that. That mental discipline truly is what made you who you are today, I think. One of the reasons, of course, I would like to, first of all, I want to talk about one experience that you wrote on your book about when you were a teenager, you knock on door, neighbor to find a lodging for yourself. Like talking about taking risks, talking about discipline, talking about focus. Tell us about that experience and how that shaped who you are today.
In college, I worked for a company called the Southwestern Company. I got recruited as a college student, and I worked for them for 5 summers. And it's one of the most unique things, Wen, you've ever heard of. We would get. I was at Cal Poly in Central California, right on the coast out there, and they would recruit us. We would drive from there all the way out to Nashville, Tennessee, which is about 44 hours. We would go through a week of sales training. And then we would drive from Nashville, Tennessee to some area. Like my first summer, I worked up in New Jersey. And so you're driving another 30 hours up to New Jersey.
Oh my God.
Literally knocking on doors, trying to find a place to live, saying, hey, I'm a college student. I'm not here to party, just out here to work. And, we would find places to live. No, I kid you not. That was how we would find a place to live for the summer. And then we'd go out and we'd work 80 hours a week, knocking on doors, selling educational books for kids. And
wow.
It was great because it allowed me to do something that made me a lot of money for school, but more important, because all that money's gone now, right? That money's been gone for decades. But the coolest thing is you learn these fundamental skills as far as you really learn that you can create business where none existed before. It's not like you have people calling you saying, hey, I'd like to buy books. You're knocking on doors, talking to people that were never thinking about purchasing something like that. And you're showing them why this would be a great thing to fill the needs of what their kids are going to need in the upcoming school year. And those skills, those attributes, I think absolutely have continued to serve me throughout life. And I think they're great skills for anybody to learn.
Were you, at that time, you were just I don't know, 17, 18, whatever the age is, were you never afraid? Were you never felt like, oh my God, will someone say no? Like, how do you able to overcome that, rejection in such a young age and really just keep going, even though it sounds absurd and bizarre? You were like, damn,
Right.
I'm driving to New Jersey. I'm on my way. Like, how did you have that mental, like, how do you make that decision? How do you know that's what you want? And how do you overcome those? We all have moments of insecurity or fear or anxiety. How do you overcome those?
I think sometimes you just have to, well, let me change what I'm about to say. So when something feels uncomfortable to me, I usually realize that that's probably what I should be doing. Right. If there's a decision to be made, if it feels uncomfortable, like, man, I'd rather do this other thing. I'd rather relax on the beach or put my feet up and do nothing. That thing that I'm discomfortable about is probably the thing I should be doing. And so I constantly throw myself into situations where I don't feel comfortable. Like I grew up with a fear of heights, but I went bungee cord jumping when I was in college off a bridge, and I got my pilot's license and learned how to fly, because those are things that really forced me to overcome my fear of heights. And I still have a fear of heights, but I just realized that there's a part of me now that really realizes that it's irrational. If I go out and knock on a door, or if I'm going out and trying to sell, I realize that the fears that I feel are 90% of the time irrational. They're not based in any reality. If I go to sell somebody, the word no is not going to kill me. It's not going to injure me. It's not going to, it may be a little depressing or a little dejecting, but it's not going to do the things that my brain is telling me it's going to do. Does that make sense?
So really, to sum up, good news, we will not die if people say no. Right. I love that.
You will not die.
I really love that, in such a young age, and you have that experience and that determination, that focus, that discipline of really just go after even what you fear and really just overcome that. I think that really, shape who you are as an unstoppable serial entrepreneurs. And I wanted to pivot our topic, talk about bobsledding. Like, that's a legit sports. People like compete lifetime for. You compete for 9 years. Talk about Olympic Games. How does that experience feel? Is it just like selling books door to door? Or how does that come about?
Well, I'll say this. It's funny because people look at the result and not what it took to get there, right? So, being in the Olympics was an amazing opportunity. It was, one of the neatest things I've ever experienced in my entire life. It was, and to be able to share it with my family. My parents were out there. Some of my best friends were out there. It was an amazing, amazing experience. And I could spend days talking to you about that experience. But what a lot of people don't realize is that, there were years of work that went in before we ever qualified. It's amazing that we did qualify. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to be in the Olympics the 4 years after that in Torino, Italy. And because of injury, we weren't able to get in there. We almost didn't make the Olympics in 2002 because of the same reasons. There's a lot of great athletes that don't make it in. And we, my brakeman, Ara Bezjan, had injured his back. I had to find a replacement brakeman. Thankfully, the points that you need to accumulate to make the Olympics are with the driver, and I was the driver. But we qualified in the last run of our last race of that 2001-2002 season, and
wow,
it was crazy. Yeah, it was an amazing journey. But that's the thing, is that sometimes people see the destination and they think that that's all that it's about, and the whole thing was about getting there and being able to qualify. It was just an amazing experience.
You said the last season, the last game, and you've been told that, you're going to Olympics next year. That's crazy. Did you? Wow, that's insane.
It was insane. Yeah, it was the season of the Olympics. So what happens is in winter sports like that, every 4 years, the Olympics takes the place of the World Championship. So there's basically an Olympics every year. But in skiing and snowboarding, and it's called the World Cup, right? And so the World Cup was replaced in that year, every 4 years, by the Olympics, and that's the center stage. That's when everybody gets a chance to see it.
So that 9 years, you just knew that for you, the game is get to Olympics. That's your focus in that 9-year training.
It's funny. It wasn't about that. The Olympics, when it got close and we realized that we had the ability to do it if we really extended ourselves. That absolutely, that was one of the goals that we chose during that time. But I didn't get involved in bobsledding to be an Olympic athlete. I got involved in bobsledding because I love the sport. I love speed. I loved riding motorcycles. So this was very, very similar, but it's on ice. And the sport itself, I absolutely loved. It was something that I was passionate about, because we would do 8 or 9 races every single year. And those races would be all over the United States. They'd be in Europe, Canada. So, I mean, it's a lot of work, because you have to ship this ginormous sled. It was a 400-pound crate, 9 feet by 3 feet by 2 feet. I still remember. And if you went overseas, you had to get a customs officer. It was insane. So there was a lot of passion behind doing it.
So talk to me about your experience in the sporting world at the beginning. How that shaped you, who you are today as a businessman, and the lessons you learned along the way.
I think they're all intertwined. I think sports is just an extension of anything you do, right? Whether it's business or whether it's, being with a great partner, as far as being in love or being married. You've got to have a commitment to doing certain things. You need to be able to compartmentalize, for example, on a bobsled track. It's really an interesting sport, because when you start in bobsledding, the actual race, you've got to hit the sled as hard as you can and run as hard as you can and drive the sled as fast as you can, because you're the motor. But then as soon as you jump in the sled, you've got to wash all that away, and you've got to suddenly be very calm and serene to be able to drive. You can't have your adrenaline high, because everything is very, very, it's very small movements you made when you're driving, right? And you've got to be very aware of the track. And I think that's true in everything, right? I mean, there's times in our business career where we've got to be very intense and pushing forward, but then we've also got to know how to balance our teams, right? We need to know how to be different personalities for different people, because what motivates when they motivate Dan in a different way. And so I think the tie-ins between sports and between almost anything are absolute. I mean, you're always going to have those same obstacles to overcome, and it makes it exciting. Every one of those things is exciting.
Oh my God, you are just so amazing. I love. You just have such a passion and drive to everything that comes to your way. I think you just not afraid spirit. Just want to go try and conquer it and move on to the next thing. This is amazing. Talking about business, and let's pivot a little bit. You were a founder and CEO for Speed Menu. Like, how do you switch from that to how does that happen? And do you always knew? I know you say you have a list. You have like 25 things. Is entrepreneur always on your list? Is that always a game? Yeah,
I think I think there's people that are very, very engaged by the idea that they can kind of run things and make things happen, right? I've been successful as an entrepreneur, and I've also failed as an entrepreneur. So I mean, you learn both, and you learn more from the failures than you do from your successes, right? I absolutely believe that. But I think I think that for me, I know that I really love the idea of creation, right? And making something from nothing. And I think that started with selling books, where you're creating, like I said, creating business from nowhere. But then like the idea of Speed Menu was saying, hey, here's this gap that I see in the world, right? Here's this thing that I know can make a huge difference. Imagine if there was an app that you could have on your phone. And how many of us have been at a restaurant at the end of the we're sitting there and we can't find our waitress. And we want to order another drink, or maybe we really need to rush out and we want to pay. And you think about the fact that to get to pay your bill, I've got to get the waitress to come over, or the waiter. I've got to tell them, hey, I'm ready to pay. They go back to the POS machine, right? Point of service. They print it out. Then they bring it back to me. They leave again. Then I put my card out. The person has to come again, get the card, take it back to the machine, bring it back again, and then I sign it, I can leave. So imagine if I had a phone where I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to leave. I look, there's my bill. I pay it, and I leave. It's one step instead of 7, right? And that was something I just thought, this is something we need to solve. And unfortunately, Speed Menu did not become the worldwide sensation I thought it would be, but it did turn into other things. When we moved on from the business, it served a very, very positive purpose. But it was a lot of fun to do along the lines. I love that. I love that you recognize it's a problem. You were like, damn, I'm going to solve this. And at that moment, I imagine you are not software developers. You don't really know how all the things worked, but you're like, damn, I'm going to make it. And you just go for it. That's incredible.
Tell us about that. Are you just making a decision and therefore you just do it? Like there's nothing hold you back?
No, I think, all of us have ideas, right? We wake up in the middle of the night, go, oh my gosh, I should make brake lights that get brighter as the impression. That's like an idea I've had for years, but nobody but you get these ideas and you have to kind of be your own filter, because a lot of times, let's be honest, you could have the greatest idea in the world and talk to friends about it. And most people feel like they're doing you a favor by telling you that won't ever work. Right. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, when I went to go sell books, I remember my parents were like, we never let people in our house. Nobody does that. You'll never be able to be successful at that. Right. Or when I've started different businesses and they go, man, I mean, you would have to raise too much money. And very frankly, most restaurants fail, and there's just, so you're constantly going to have your detractors. And sometimes your detractors are your very best friends, and they feel like they're protecting you by stopping you. And you've got to basically make the decision on the things that you feel passionate about, that's something I'm going to pursue and I'm going to push. And I'm just going to get through every obstacle until I make it succeed. That's difficult, but it's part of the process.
So do you always know how to make decisions, or do you thrust that muscle along the way? How do you know with all the no, you should not do it, that's dumb idea, whatever all those, noises coming from people you love, your friends, your family, how do you decipher and decide, you know what, damn it, I'm going to change the world and this is I'm going despite what you said? How do you decipher, right? How do you decide? How do you know that's for you?
Well, I think you have to, we're all living with our own consciousness, right? You have to make those decisions on your own. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to live with you, right? So the question is, when do you look at it and say, if I were to not try this, would I be okay with that? If you're okay with it, that's fine. But when I drive by a cemetery, I tell my kids, I go, I want you to look out there. And what do you see out there? And I've told my kids this. And they know now what the answer is. The answer is, buried underneath that ground is not just flesh and bone. It's the dreams and the aspirations. It's music albums. It's books that were never written. Wow. It was inventions that were never made, because these people always thought, I'm not going to do it, or I don't think I could make it, or nobody's going to buy that, or nobody wants to hear me sing, and it's been buried with them, and that's it. We've got a finite amount of time on this earth, and if you really believe, because look, we get ideas, and we're like, I could take it or leave it. Yeah. But when you've got that idea, and you're like, man, this is it, and I just know this is it. How many times do we shelve that or put it away for another day? Probably too much. So I think sometimes you've got to be your own filter and say, you know what, I believe in this and I'm going to do whatever I can to make this work.
Wow. It's really beautiful, Dan. What you just said, I just felt so inspired. I'm thinking about, there are so many, not just the flesh and the bone underneath, but there's so many dreams being buried under. And I just, such a cliche, such a pity, because I think in my mind, I think we all agree on this, is life is so short. And the fact that right now, if you and me, we can see this beautiful, beautiful world with our eyes, with our hands. If you have technology, you have internet, my friend, you and me, we are the lottery winners. We are the lucky one. And if you have a dream, if you have ambition, you have a music you want to create, go do them. It's so beautiful what you just said. Just remind me, even more reinforce that. Wow, it's so beautiful.
But when you're doing it, right? I mean, look at your podcast. Look at what you're doing right now. If not now, when? How many people have thought, oh, I'm going to put together a podcast, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that? And it's like you said, all the tools are available to us. This didn't exist when we were kids. I mean, I don't want to date myself, but there were no cell phones in 1990 until like 1996. And so we didn't have these opportunities as kids, and you're doing it right now by doing what you're doing, and I think that's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. It made me so happy, because I felt like I made my dream come true a decade ago, and that had transformed my life. And today, I really want to empower everybody to go out there, to dream, to make it happen. Because, my friend, if not you, whom? If not now, when? All right. So, oh my God, Dan, I love your story, and you have so much to cover. So let's talk about movie business. Let's talk about TV show. Let's talk about Wheel of Fortune. How's that come from? And do you always know you want to be an actor?
Yeah, well, Wheel of Fortune is a little bit different, just because you apply for the show. And I remember when I got an email from the from the producers, saying, "Hey, you've been invited to this thing, this audition out in Austin," and I actually deleted it because I just thought, we all get spam, and I just thought it was spam. And I mentioned it to my mom, and my mom said, "Well, did you ever apply?" And I said, "Yeah, I've filled out an application before." She goes, "You should probably look at it." So I looked, and I called up, and because it said, "Hey, we want you to be at this location," and I knew the area where the audition was being held. I hadn't heard of the location. And so I called that location. I said, "Hey, I'm calling because I'm invited out there for the Wheel of Fortune audition, and I just wanted to know where I should park." And the lady goes, "Oh yeah, no, you want to park in the backside of the parking lot, and that's going to be on this particular weekend, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is real," right? So that was really interesting. That was a lot of fun. And I think my acting helped with that, just because they want, when you go and audition, it's not just you and me sitting down talking. You're in a room with 60 people and you're literally playing the game, and they want to make sure that you can smile and clap constantly because that's what's going on the show. And it's just a lot of fun stuff, right? But yeah, the other side of it, the acting side, it was like you said, it was a goal of mine. I moved to LA after the Olympics, actually, and got headshots made, and I learned what I needed to do to get into the acting swing of things, and was very fortunate. I got to be an extra on a lot of really big movies like Seabiscuit and The Longest Yard and movies like that. And then I got to be in a bunch of independent films, one of which turned out to be the worst film of all time, right? The Room. And, played a thug on that. And that's just crazy. That there's no skill there. That's just luck to be in the right place at the right time. But it was funny because that movie at the time, we thought, this is miserable. I mean, they had so many people walk off the set, but that's what makes it a great movie, right? It was just all the stories behind it. But that led to other things, right? That opened up doors to being in reality series, and all these things when work together, right? I got into a bunch of these reality shows because of bobsledding, not because of acting. But then the bobsledding and the acting opened up doors where I was getting offered roles and offered parts in certain things. I mean, some things you wouldn't even believe. But some of these opportunities that came up were just because of other things I had done, and they all started to stack together and open up new doors. So, the best suggestion I can make to anybody is don't, like you said, I mean, I'm not doing one thing. It's, go out there and go after the things you're passionate about, because you never know where it's going to lead and how those things might combine and make something even better for you.
So beautiful. Oh my God. Your story is just, oh my God. I'm really, really inspired. I can't believe I have this conversation with you in real life, and you are a real human being, and I actually know you. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so surreal and so honored of me. And then, talking about being intentional about your career and really just go out what you really love and passion, and really, pay the wave. And today you, of course, really successful. I'm curious, what do you think has made you success? Like, maybe probably not just one thing, right? But how do you kind of differentiate yourself from all other people out there? Maybe also do bobsledding, maybe also in the movie film business, maybe also do all the things along the way, but they are thousands, if not millions of all rest of them. What made you stand out? What made you successful? And then that, and pivot to tech, and then, do all those crazy things. There's only 1 year, one Dan. Like, what made you so incredible who you are?
Well, first, I don't know if I deserve all that praise, but thank you. That's incredibly sweet, and very honestly, I feel very, very fortunate to know you and have spent time with you and Eric, and I mean, so let's just make that very clear. I feel very fortunate as well. So thank you. But to answer your question, my definition of success is probably a little bit different. It's not, I've got a five word phrase I love to live by. It's all about good times. That's my phrase. It's all about good times. And
I love that.
But see, to me, it ties into family. It ties into friends. I've been very, very fortunate because my friends are the best friends in the entire world. I could not ask for a better group of people in my life. Some of them I haven't seen as often as I'd like, because a lot of them live in California. I'm in Austin. My friends in Austin, I'm so close with. I've got an amazing relationship with my family. My brother and sister are two of my very best friends. I've already talked to both of them this morning, and it's already, it's early in the morning, and I've already spoken to both of them. So that's how close I am with them. My kids are like my absolute life. So I feel very fortunate. That's where success lies for me. The other stuff is just kind of, imagine it being hobbies, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, I got a chance to go out and do sports. I got a chance to, author stuff. Well, to me, those are just things that I love and I find passion for and I make time for,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And there's been times in my life where that's been a focus, whether it's starting a new business. But even then it's like, okay, well, I've had to work at jobs that maybe I didn't enjoy as much to be able to have the money to be able to take the time necessary to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've had to network to be able to have the friends that want to invest in things or the business partners that have wanted to invest in things that have allowed me to do those things. So all those things tie around just living a really positive, good life. I just feel so blessed. And if I could wrap up with one thing on that topic, I really believe that there's an enormous difference between success and significance. Success can be financial, it can be a lot of things, but like I'm at a time in my life now where it's like I want to be significant. I want to be significant to my kids. I don't want to be the dad that, hey, he was a good provider, but he wasn't there. I want to spend time with them, especially while they're young and they're at home. Especially my 7-year-old, who I absolutely adore doing things with and spending time with.
Yeah.
I want to be significant. I want to make a lot of money, but not necessarily because I need a lot of money. I don't. I want to make a lot of money because if I'm in a situation and I meet somebody that's trying to open a non-for-profit and they're $50,000 shy of hitting their goal, I'd like to just be able to take out my checkbook and write a check and just say, here, do it. Those are the things that I think, they say money, you can't take it with you, but if you know how to make it, then, where can we put it that it's going to make the biggest impact? And I think those are the places that I'd really like to, see my time spent, moving forward.
Wow. I love that, Dan. And I really want to say I'm so honored I can count as one of your friends in Austin. So that's amazing. And, that really brings me to my next question is today, of course, there's a revolution of your life and your journey, your focus, right? Today is family, it's people, it's community. I'm curious, what inspired you today? Like, is that is a focus or is it something else? Because right now you sounds like a person that have multiple games and you just like, damn, I'm crushing this, moving to the next thing, and one thing after another door open. So I'm curious, what inspired you today and what is next for you?
That's a really interesting question too. I've been in a major transition, I think the last year. And you talked about, my company that I have right now, Gridiron Financial, which, I'm still working with, but I'm more consulting, and I've kind of moved out of the role of, CEO of that company. Of my company at that point. And I'm now really focused on moving back into technology, which is a sector I loved. So I'm really excited. If you want to know what inspires me, the company I'm working with, the people I'm working with now, I am just so fired up to help them create a sales culture and to create the systems that they need to be successful. And again, so this is drawing from things I've done in the past and things that I've learned and failures I've had. And I can take all that breadth of knowledge and bring it to them. And I love implementing and starting to see those things come together there and building up, their business and helping them achieve their goals. It's so much fun. I love it. It's consultative and it's exciting,
So let's talk about that. Like you are so passionate about selling and you have this incredible new book coming out, the book on selling. So tell us a little bit about the book and how can people find it? When do people expect to get it? Tell us more.
So I'm expecting the book should be on shelves in either March or April of this year. We've already got a publisher and everything is lined up. So we're looking at probably March or April that'll be coming out. And it's really based on teaching people the art of selling, right? Teaching them the cycle of sales as it may be. There's a lot of books that kind of touch on it, but don't really delve into it. And, there's a lot of authors that teach motivation and teach excitement and those are great books. And those things are true. You need to learn those, but you also need the technical know-how to say, look, when I go out and I want to sell something, what is that process? And maybe you understand it, but maybe you just need help in certain areas of it. So whether you're brand new or whether or not you've been in the industry for a while, the book is exciting for me because it fills a gap that I found as a manager where I'm trying to teach new people how to sell. All that stuff that I teach is in the book. And if I'm trying to teach managers how to train and work with their people, they can also use the book in those contexts, right? They can, have their weekly meetings and teach something out of that book. And that's really how I wanted to have it structured, where it wasn't just emotional. It was really technical and breaks down how to do things. So I'm really excited for it to come out. And, maybe when it does, we can talk more about it at that time. It'd be a lot of fun to sit down with you again.
Yes, of course. We'll love to for you come back, talk about a book, and everybody, really drum roll until the day the book is out. And talking about selling, really want to look all the whole circle back then. You talk about at the beginning of your journey, your career, you were knock on the doors. Asking for lodgings, and today you are expert, you are passionate about selling. You're of course not afraid of failure or people say no. And in the book, Failing Forward, it said the number one difference between achieving people versus average people is the perception of failure. And you touched base earlier about success and what failure meant to you. I'm curious, first of all, what is failure meant to you, and how does that? Do you just get stronger as you go, and that's why you're better at selling? How do you see failure? I'm curious, from the sales perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting because I definitely have a fear of failure. I think everybody does, right? Nobody wants to fail.
You do?
Yeah, of course. I think the difference is they talk about the difference between cows and rhinoceros, right? A rhinoceros, if it sees a storm coming, will run into the storm, whereas a cow will run away from the storm. And the reason that there's a difference is because a cow sees the storm coming and runs away from it. And since it's running with the storm stays on the cow for longer, right? Whereas the rhinoceros that runs into the storm passes, and the rhinoceros gets out of the storm quicker. So I think you learn, having gone through failures and by running into the storm, you learn very quickly that the storm is usually not as bad as it seems. But when you run away from it, it stays with you for a long time. And it could become the thing that you live in constantly. And so, yeah, I have a fear of failure. I think most people do, but I think from doing the things that we've done in the past and learning from those and having successes and having failures from trying has made us a little more calloused. We don't bruise. I don't bruise as easy, I think, from failure, just because I understand that that's just part of it, and you need to have failure to achieve anything in life.
This is incredible, Dan. I love everything you said. It's so wonderful. And I'm curious, Dan, of course, today you had this beautiful life that you have lived, and you've done so many incredible things, so many incredible dots. I'm curious, if I have this magic wand, I can help you go back to any point of time, change anything you want. I'm curious, would you change anything on your journey? If so, what it is?
Oh man, when I bought that 10,000 shares of Apple when it was at $13 a share, could you tell me that selling at 26 would be a dumb idea?
Ouch.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, I said, if I just gone into a coma and woken up in 2020, that'd be worth, tens of millions of dollars at this point. So anyway, live and learn. No, I got to be honest with you. It'd be so easy to go back and say, hey, I want to change this or change that. But it's the butterfly effect. If I change anything, would I have my kids? Would I have the friends I have? Would I be would I be living the life that I'm living right now, which I love? Things can always be better. I don't think my life is perfect by any means, but it's definitely, I've been very fortunate. I haven't lost anybody super close to me in a long time. And, I have lost some friends and whatnot, but in general, my life has been incredibly good, and I'm incredibly grateful. And no, I wouldn't change anything.
I love that. And today, Dan, we are so honored you are here on the show with us. And oftentimes our audience who are, entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs who wanted to make something happen just like you did. And of course, this year has been challenging time with the pandemic for all of us. I'm curious, do you have any advice or last piece of thought you want to share with entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, really how to go out there and make their dream come true? What would you say?
I think, I mentioned before my mythology I live by, right? It's all about good times. Find the things that you love to do and be passionate about it. I just know that there's so many people that when they go into something, they think, okay, well, what does the average person do in this? Screw that, forget that. Ask yourself, what can you do if you were to do it at the highest level possible? When I went to college, I started as an engineer. I finished as a business major, and my dad got so upset with me because I wanted to change. And he told me about what an average engineer makes this much, an average business guy only makes this much, right? And I said, yeah, but what's the top business guy make? I said, if you're really worried about the money, what does the top guy make? I said, I'm not going to school to be average. I'm not going to school to be okay. Average is the top of the bottom. It's the bottom of the top. It's, it's not a place where I want to live.
Mm-hmm,
so I would just say, if you want to go out there and you want to accomplish at a really high level, put your head down, be absolutely committed that no matter what happens, you're going to continue driving forward, because you're going to hit major barriers. You're going to hit a point where you feel like you can't go on, and you need to break through that barrier and keep going if you want to succeed, because it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Dan, I love that. I really love what you just shared with your dad. And, so interesting. We are looking at statistic, the average number, average this, and actually thinking about Dan. I'm not here to be average. I'm here to be extraordinary. And when you see it that way and actually thinking about how good can it get, how great the journey can be, I'm going to go out there, make my dream happen. And I love, the journey you share with, such a passion. Just, it's all about good times with a wonderful, incredible discipline and focus, and really just make it happen. I'm just so honored that you are here sharing such a beautiful story. Your wisdom, your insights, truly, it just so inspired me. And I know all of the audience who are watching right now and watching later. So I really want to honor and thank you so much, Dan, for being here, for being you, for being such incredible, inspiring speakers for me.
Thank you for having me here. This has been an absolute blast and a great way to start the day. And I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. This is a great podcast, and this is a lot of fun to be a part of it with you. So thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed today as much as I do. And now I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.